All right, hello again, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Friday, February 23rd, 2024. NFL free agency just about 2 weeks away. The NFL Combine will kick off February 29th with on-field workouts and certainly the NFL Draft. Major storyline, in terms of not only impacting fantasy football, but the NFL in general. And really, it starts at the top with the Bears, the Commanders, and the Patriots 1, 2, and 3, among widely expected beliefs that these three teams are going to take the three quarterbacks at the top. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, probably in that order, as the Bears really have given no indication that they're going to trade that pick. All right, it seems like they're going to be going all in on Caleb Williams. There was that ridiculous chatter of them having both Williams and Fields on the same team for this year. I absolutely do not think that will happen. I think Fields is going to end up with the Atlanta Falcons. Going to get all, into all that in a minute. But before I go any further, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button if you haven't done so already. Also, you could become a member by hitting the join button. And also you could get the two versions of the Fantasy Football Draft Guide for 2024 by clicking on the PayPal link and making the purchase there. And then when the draft guides are ready, they will be emailed to you in PDF format. So make sure you do that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Combine. Like I said, it begins this Thursday. It's always interesting to see, how players, let's face it, there's no pass rushers coming at the quarterbacks. There's nobody trying to tackle the running backs or receivers. So there's only so much you could take out of that, but draft stocks have been helped and hurt by the Combine, pretty much every year. And honestly, even if, let's say, Drake May lights it up at the Combine and Caleb Williams struggles, I still think Caleb Williams is the number one pick. Like, he's just been that generational can't miss guy, according to just almost every NFL personnel guru, whatever, since really last season. 2 seasons ago, because, obviously 2023 season's over, since 2022. There's going to probably be a wise guy out there. Oh, I think Drake May or even Jaden Daniels should be the number one guy. No, it's Caleb Williams. I know for myself, I have him ranked squarely ahead of the other two, with Drake May squarely ahead of Jaden Daniels. Like, Jaden Daniels has that Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, athlete/quarterback, makeup to him. And there's risk. Justin Fields, as electric of a runner as he's been, hasn't exactly panned out with the Bears. Certainly as a passer. Still struggles as a passer. Anthony Richardson, we did not get enough intel on him because he was pretty much injured the entire 2023 season. But when he was on the field, at least, he showed good signs. Right? He threw the ball really well. So, and he's going to be one of the most sought after sleepers in fantasy football 2024 at the quarterback position. There's no doubt about it. And we could start with the first news item of the day at the quarterback position. I wanted to touch on Justin Herbert because, obviously a lot of change in Los Angeles with the Chargers, hiring Jim Harbaugh, moving on from the fiasco that was Brandon Staley. There's uncertainty among the offense as well. Austin Eckler's a free agent. I do not think he's coming back. Are they going to keep, Keenan Allen? Are they going to, is he going to be a cap casualty? Mike Williams? There's a lot of question marks. Quentin Johnson did not distinguish himself at all as a rookie. That looks like a busted pick already. Now, I know it's only a year in, but, usually you see these signs right away now with receivers. Whereas, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it took them a couple of years for a receiver to make good on their potential. Now, rookies are coming in. Last year, look at Tank Dell, right? Look at Jaden Reed. Well, receivers are coming in and they're contributing right away. We didn't see any of that from Quentin Johnson. But here's the thing, too, with the Chargers. They hired Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator, all right? This is not the best thing for Justin Herbert's fantasy value. All right, Greg Roman, and he was speaking to the team's assembled media a couple of days ago, and he said, "I want a balanced offense, i.e., running the football." And that's been a major staple of Greg Roman going back to the Ravens. Right? They ran the football at an exponentially high rate in Baltimore. Much to the chagrin of Lamar Jackson owners. But then again, Lamar Jackson had an MVP season with Greg Roman. All right, and it didn't work towards the end, and they needed a fresh start, and obviously Jackson won the MVP this season. But you don't want to hear balance when it comes to Justin Herbert and his fantasy prospects for 2024. All right, now, I've always been a big Justin Herbert fan. But if there's going to be a erosion on pass attempts, that undoubtedly is going to impact his fantasy upside. You have an aging wide receiver core. They've missed on Quentin Johnson so far. So this offense has a lot of question marks. What are they going to do at the running back position? So I'm not feeling so good about this offense. Now, again, really big fan of Justin Herbert. I think he's going to slide to where he's going to present himself as a good value. You know, you have the big four: Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, and Jackson. Joe Burrow, if you want to throw him in there, that's the big five. And then after that, I think Justin Fields is going to be 6 on consensus. And then the value, for me, you know, you have Jordan Love. He's going to be he's shaping up to be a really good value. A tremendous value is going to be Kyler Murray. And speaking of Anthony Richardson, I think he's going to be in that 6-7 range, maybe right after Fields. So let's say those are the top 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, even 13. You have Herbert. You have Jordan Love. And honestly, I'm liking Jordan Love more than Justin Herbert at this point. You know, I think Trevor Lawrence, we can push him down to that 12, 13 range now, coming off a disappointing season. But CJ Stroud. Is CJ Stroud QB 8? I think so. So now 9, 10, that's where I think Herbert and Love are going to end up. I'd rather have Love. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray came back last year. He did really good things. He looked like the Kyler Murray of old. He's going to be a terrific value. Now, do they re-sign Marquise Hollywood Brown? I don't know. You know, James Conner, as much as I loved owning James Conner last year, helped me win a championship, I'm not going back to the well there at 29 years old. Hell no. You know my rule. Not doing it. The only reason why I ended up with Conner last year is because he fell into the running back dead zone. And that running back dead zone is where leagues were won last year. Conner, Isaiah Pacheco, who I just did a video on yesterday. Obviously, Rachaad White, the biggest hit in the running back dead zone. David Montgomery. David Montgomery was tremendous. 13 rushing touchdowns. 1,000 yards. So that's where the success was. And that's what I'm going to do again this year. Love Breece Hall. You all know I love Breece Hall. But I'm not using a first-round pick on a running back. Again, not doing it. Round 2, maybe. But anyway, getting back to Herbert, he's sliding. He's going to slide in drafts. And honestly, both my leagues, I drafted Josh Allen in one league, made the playoffs, got upset in the semifinals, drafted Jalen Hurts in my other league, wound up trading him for Lamar Jackson, which turned out to be a smashing success, and I won the league. So in both of my leagues, I used a third-round pick on a quarterback. Will I do that? And that's not typical of me. I've been doing this for 20 years. Matt Ryan, Tony Romo, hell, Eli Manning. I won championships with all 3 of those guys. I love Tony Romo. As much as I can't stand him now as an announcer, he was a great value in fantasy football for years. That's when the advantage of running quarterbacks was not as pronounced in terms of winning leagues. And even this past season, I've already spoken about one of the lessons learned, that the pocket passers made a comeback. They absolutely made a comeback this year. Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. I mean, hell, Baker Mayfield was the top 12 guy. Sam Howell. Even though Sam Howell can run, he's pretty much stayed in the pocket. So, you know, but again, it's inherently an advantage to have that dual threat guy. That's why Kyler Murray, if I don't take one of those top 4, and I don't put Joe Burrow in there. He's been hurt too much. He doesn't run enough. So I'm leaving him out of that big 4. So I'm not going to own shares of Burrow. But Jordan Love, hell yeah. Kyler Murray, if in a single quarterback league, if you can get him as QB 12, 13, and you have stacked receivers and running backs, yeah, absolutely. And then you could pair him with a Trevor Lawrence if you want. I still believe in Trevor Lawrence. Just call me a sucker, but the talent is just too obvious. So downgrade Herbert at this point, very early in the offseason. Now, the running backs are going to, the number one position I'm going to be looking at early in free agency is running backs because the market is flooded. There are so many free agent veteran backs, it's insane. Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Gus Edwards, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, on and on and on it goes. A.J. Dillon. Thus, there is no reason to pay. You have heard nothing from the Giants and Saquon Barkley. You've heard nothing from the Raiders and Josh Jacobs. You've heard nothing of the Titans, and Derrick Henry's not going back to the Titans. That's just not happening. You've heard nothing with Dallas and Tony Pollard. Is Tony Pollard going to leave? Like, if you read the tea leaves now, it looks like Tony Pollard's not coming back to Dallas. Gus Edwards, they already said, team official spoke saying that Gus Edwards is not coming back. The Ravens are going to strike. They're going to get somebody, whether it's Jacobs, whether it's Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry is a good fit. I said Dallas, too. I think Derrick Henry is a great fit in Dallas. If they can bring back Tony Pollard on a one-year deal, give a one-year deal to Derrick Henry, use them in tandem, that absolutely can work. We saw how good the tandem was with Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. I think Derrick Henry is close enough to Elliott in the type of game that he has, that power running game. I think Henry can still be a really, really good power back in a two-back system as he enters his age 30 year. It seems like Baltimore would be the place for Derrick Henry other than Dallas in terms of what makes the most sense. And then there's Josh Jacobs. He's coming off a down year, but Antonio Pierce really likes him a lot. There's been no discussion so far, apparently, between the two sides. He's not going to get franchise tagged again. The Giants don't plan on franchise tagging Saquon Barkley either. They're going to probably place it on Xavier McKinney, their star safety, and that would be the easy move to make. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I hate to see that because I really like Saquon Barkley, and obviously being a fan of the team, I've met him a number of times. He's always been really, really gracious. Just, signs autographs, everybody, nice guy, class act. I mean, everything you could want from a star player, and he's a star player. Now, he has not lived up to that rookie performance. He's always been chasing that performance. Injuries have derailed 3 of his 6 seasons with the team, but he's a gamer. Still very skilled. Doesn't have that burst that he had initially prior to the ACL tear, but still a really effective player. I just don't see it happening now. I think for both sides, it almost seems like a parting of the ways is what's going to happen here. And with the Ravens not planning to bring back Gus Edwards, and J.K. Dobbins is free too. I think they're done with J.K. Dobbins. I think he's just hurt way too much. Don't blame the Ravens one bit. So they're going to bring in somebody. And this team has a Super Bowl window. Now, Zay Flowers got himself in trouble. Domestic issue. I mean, you hate to see stuff like that. I mean, that shit just drives me crazy. These guys that put their hands on the women. I mean, like, come on. I hate to see that. It's just garbage. Not sure what's going to happen there. Odell Beckham's a free agent. So the Ravens have some questions offensively that they're going to need to answer. And I think they're going to strike it early on day one in free agency. I think they're going to bring in somebody. I think Derrick Henry would probably be at the top of the list. Maybe Josh Jacobs behind him. Behind him, I should say. Gabe Davis, he's going to leave Buffalo. Gabe Davis is interesting to me. We've seen game-breaking ability from him. Getting out from behind Stephon Diggs. And this Bills offense, and listen, this is not being talked about enough. When Joe Brady came in to run the offense last year, they dialed back the passing attempts. Josh Allen was not throwing the ball anywhere near as much as he did previously. Now, he was running the ball more. Brady unleashed him more to run the ball, which is good. But the passing attack wasn't there. And Stephon Diggs, we saw his numbers absolutely crater. And what happens with Stephon Diggs? He's got a huge contract. He's got a lot of money coming to him. I don't think they're going to be cutting him. No way. Do they trade him? I don't know. That contract is onerous. Potential problem there. So the Joe Brady offense, not as fantasy friendly, and it completely left Gabe Davis behind. I mean, he was not involved at all. Can Gabe Davis be a more consistent guy as the number one option somewhere else? Maybe. Is he Juju Smith-Schuster? Needs to be a secondary guy? I don't know. But he's never had that raw catch season like Juju Smith-Schuster had with the Steelers. But, let's say he ends up on a team where he's going to be the number one guy. Talking about Gabe Davis. He's worth a flyer. Absolutely. Michael Pittman. Colts probably going to franchise tag him. He's not going anywhere. T. Higgins probably going to be franchise tagged by the Bengals. Mike Evans, I don't think will be franchise tagged. I don't think they would do that to him. But it sounds like they're far apart. So is Mike Evans not signing with Tampa Bay? Is he going to go somewhere else? How about the Chiefs? If Mike Evans goes to the Chiefs with Rashee Rice, holy crap. Mike Evans has been putting up 1,000-yard seasons with Josh McCown, Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston. Imagine what he does with a Pat Mahomes. And if you're Mike Evans, you have to be thinking to yourself, man, I just want to play. I know he played with Tom Brady, but obviously he was an aging Tom Brady. What would it be like to play with a Pat Mahomes? To play with a Josh Allen? You have to wonder if that's what's going through Mike Evans' head. I'm a huge fan of Mike Evans. I had him last year. Man, he is just so unbelievably good. And it was funny? Baker Mayfield, I don't know if anybody caught this, but he was talking at the end of the season. I believe he was talking to Matthew Berry for his show, and he said, yeah, I do play fantasy. And he owned Mike Evans. So Mike Evans was getting peppered with targets week in and week out. Baker Mayfield, in the back of his head, was he saying, oh, I gotta boost my fantasy score? Like, you wonder sometimes with these guys, right? And Chris Godwin, I have to be honest with you guys. Let me just pull up Chris Godwin's numbers here. And I was in on this one telling you that Godwin was a fade this year just because no Brady. And I did say that about Evans too, I'll be honest with you, even though I owned him. But Chris Godwin had the quietest 1,000-yard season I've ever seen. 1,024 yards. Only 83 catches, down from 104 and 98 the 2 years prior. 2 touchdowns. Like, he's had 5 receiving touchdowns the last 2 years, 10 the last 3 years altogether. Like, Chris Godwin just doesn't catch enough touchdown passes, and he's always hurt. Although he did play 17 games this past season. So Baker Mayfield, who I think is going to re-sign in Tampa Bay, I think it's only a matter of time. If Evans leaves, then Godwin becomes interesting again. If Evans stays, then Godwin remains a fade. But I think this one could go either way. Whereas T. Higgins, all indications are he's going to be franchise tagged by the Bengals. Michael Pittman almost certainly will be franchise tagged by the Colts as they maybe work out a new contract. They have to have Anthony Richardson's number one target there. They have to make sure that he has his weapons. All right. Geno Smith, back with the Seahawks. They restructured his contract. He didn't play well last year. The numbers cratered. He got better as the year went on. No doubt about it. But I don't think Tyler Lockett's coming back. I think he's going to be a cap casualty. Tyler Lockett, who I've been a big fan of throughout his career, did not catch the 8 touchdown passes, so he broke his 5-season streak of catching at least 8 touchdown passes. The only receiver to do that in the last 5 years. It was either the last 4 or 5 years. But he lost a step. Anybody who watched Tyler Lockett last year, was evident that he lost a step. The speed just wasn't there. I think he's going to be a cap casualty. And really it makes sense because Jackson Smith and Jigba is capable of being a star receiver. I think this offense is going to remain run heavy though. DK Metcalf, he's been underwhelming. He's becoming much more big play touchdown dependent than he was earlier in his career when he had the 90 catch season. It's hard to have faith in Geno Smith. So those, that whole offense, and I talked about how I'm still fading Kenneth Walker. I believe in the talents of the backup there, Zach Charbonnet. He's not going away. So that offense, I'm probably fading this year. Justin Fields. So the latest with Justin Fields is that, he says he wants to stay. He scrubbed his, this is the thing that they do now. He scrubbed his Instagram or whatever it was from the Bears logo. He says he just wants to get away from football. Bullshit. Fields has always been a petulant, immature player since he came into the league, threw coaches under the bus, I think it's over there. I think he's going to end up with Atlanta. That seems to be the place to be for that everybody's pointing to. Whereas Russell Wilson the rumors are he's going to Pittsburgh. Now, both guys will boost the offense in both locales. All right, I told you I'm really, really intrigued with Pickens in Pittsburgh. If they do get that quarterback upgrade, Russell Wilson with Pickens, that's very interesting to me. Pickens is a star talent receiver. He just needs a quarterback. That's it. He needs a quarterback. He can be a wide receiver. He reminds me of A.J. Brown. Like, I think the parallels between Pickens, and tell me if I'm wrong. You post in the comments. A.J. Brown and Pickens, they are clones of each other in terms of their game. Speed-based, big play potential. When A.J. Brown was with the Titans, he mirrored George Pickens in terms of numbers. Like, A.J. Brown did not put up big catch totals in Tennessee. It was a run-heavy offense led by Derrick Henry. They had a mediocre quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. He gets out of there, goes to Philadelphia, emphasizing the pass, and look what he's done the last 2 years. And he's got a great quarterback in Jalen Hurts. George Pickens has had garbage at quarterback. Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky. I know Rudolph played well down the stretch last season, but he's not the answer. He's had to deal with just brutal quarterback play. You put him in an offense with even a fairly competent quarterback like Russell Wilson, and Wilson played well last year, let's face it. His numbers could potentially explode, and he'll be a big value. Justin Fields, listen, he doesn't have the passing chops, so you might think, okay, Drake London's going to explode. I don't think Drake London would explode with a Justin Fields. Now, Kirk Cousins, absolutely. If Kirk Cousins ever ended up in Atlanta, Drake London should be like a late second-round pick, and I'm not even kidding, because Cousins just peppers his top targets, and which Drake London would be. But Justin Fields, but listen, I'll be fair. What he did to DJ Moore, that was amazing. So I'll backtrack on what I just said. So what he did with DJ Moore last year cannot be ignored. So is that possible he could do that with Drake London? Yes, absolutely. Anything's better than the garbage that they put out there last year. That was just complete, criminality by the front office of Atlanta. Just, having those quarterbacks there. It was just a joke. Clint Kubiak, the Saints wants to open things up for Alvin Kamara. He's entering his age 29 season. Now, listen, he was a PPR cheat code the first half, when he came back from the suspension. Really the middle portion of the season, weeks 3 to 11. Kamara was as good as any player in PPR. I mean, it was just insane how many catches he had. And Derek Carr has always been known to pepper his running backs with targets. But again, he's going into his age 29 season. All of the advanced metrics are going in the toilet. Lowest rush yards after contact of his career last year. 2.51, which is terrible. Fewest number of rushes of 10 yards in his NFL career. So both of those advanced metrics in the gutter for Kamara last year. I am fading him everywhere. Not chasing a guy in his age 29 season. Kamara, Derrick Henry, Eckler, nope. Saquon, age 27 season. Maybe he could squeeze another year out because he's missed a lot of time. I'll be open on him. But the rest of them, no way. Not happening. So, just have to see there. Some other things. Yeah, so Mike McDonald, getting back to the Seahawks, he says he wants to emphasize the run. Is it going to be a split with him and Zach Charbonnet? I don't know. But I don't like Kenneth Walker. He gets hurt a lot. Misses games every year. He's always banged up. Does not catch the football well. I know, he's almost like Adrian Peterson. Like, Adrian Peterson was never a really big receiver as a running back. 30 catches, that's about what his baseline was. And that's where Kenneth Walker is. It's not awful, but it's not great. Zach Charbonnet, meanwhile, caught more passes than he did in a part-time role for the Seahawks last year. And he's capable of doing more. So, if it's a split, out of those two guys, I would draft Charbonnet because I think his value he's going to come much cheaper. He's got more value. When Kenneth Walker misses time, Charbonnet can put up some big numbers. He was a monster at UCLA. I think he can do good things with Seattle as the starter. But we're just going to have to see how this all plays out. So a lot of stuff coming up, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. All right? A lot of videos, player analyzers already being posted. Hope you're checking those out. I'm going to be covering the Combine. A lot of Combine videos. maybe some shorts during the combine itself based on the performances there. I'm also going to be doing position previews for the draft. All right, I'm going to start with the quarterbacks. I'm going to post that probably sometime this weekend and go through all the positions, guys I like, guys I don't like. Who, can we find the next Tank Dell? Can we find the next Jaden Reed? I have some thoughts on that that I'll share with you later on this weekend. So make sure you're subscribed. Subscribe to the draft guide as well. And until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. We will chat soon.